Welcome to a very very special episode of Death Battle Cast. I just realized I didn't get a drink of water or anything, so here we go. Let's see how I fare today. I'm Ben, voice of Wiz in Death Battle Shenanigans, joined by Chad, voice of Boomstick.
Hey, that's me.
That's him. Joined by
Liam is rocking out.
Liam is doing.
Just wanted to give you guys a little spook right there.
Writer, lead researcher of Death Battle, and the director of the most recent Death Battle. It's Josh.
Hello, it's me.
If you have not seen Korra vs. Storm yet, you really should. Definitely go check that out. We'll talk a little bit about that. I think we can avoid spoilers for this week, but we'll see. If we're going to talk about spoilers, we'll give you a forewarning. But Korra vs. Storm is out, and oh my gosh, I love how it turned out, man. Amazing job. You and the team did such a great job. Oh, and Liam, you wrote it, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you, Josh. No, thank you.
You did an okay job.
The love of your directorship poured into my brain, which then poured out of my fingers onto my keyboard as like a cycle. We're like two snakes eating each other. That is how art is made.
Wow. So, perfect. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch that?
I guess that's a testament to our writing ability. Josh, let's talk a little bit about Korra Storm before we get to the meat of today's episode, which is going to be kind of a doozy. But Korra vs. Storm is an episode we've wanted to do for a very long time, and one that you jumped on. What interested you about this battle in particular?
It was like this marriage of a show I grew up watching, that 90s X-Men show, which will soon be a show that kids will grow up watching again. Just kind of crazy.
Wild.
But it was that plus a more recent love of watching Legend of Korra over the lockdown. I just binged it all on Netflix. So I was really, really loved these two characters. And I thought, like what we all thought when we decided to make this episode, that it would be a fantastic fight between these two characters. Like just being able to throw so many cool elemental things at it. And like it made for such an entertaining fight from script all the way through to the end of production. So it was really fun to like bring that to life.
We've had sort of an evolution of Avatar episodes because I've talked about it before. Korra Storm is a matchup we've had on the docket for a season multiple times, and we've pushed it back. Or it hasn't gone through the approval process that we go through for every season. So at the beginning, before we start working on a season, we have a list of episodes that we think would be good to work on. And we kind of narrow that down to the 16 or 20 that we're going to do. Korra vs. Storm has been on that larger list before. And it's always been narrowed out of it because of the how crazy the animation would have to be.
Yeah.
Especially back in the day when we only had one animator working on a single battle. Yeesh, that would have been tough. But a couple years back, we did Aang versus Ed. That was our first foray into all the elemental shenanigans. Turned out great. Did Zuko Todoroki last year to really like try out how firebending could look and work. And it's all culminating with Korra vs. Storm. And holy crap, I think the guys pulled it off.
It looks so cool.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
It was I when I was writing it, I was like concerned about the stuff I was putting in and whether or not it would be doable. But I was like, I'm not directing, so I don't need to worry about it.
But that really is the thing. Like, I think people kind of go into this episode with their own sort of expectations of who's going to win and why and all that stuff. And that's fair, whatever. But like, I think results aside, I think those same people were very surprised to find that the animation was so awesome. Like it really was such a well-written fight with so many cool, like each character really gets to shine in a really cool way and like has
including
so many
Noelle.
Tricks up their sleeves, including Noelle. A great little surprise.
I mean, is it a surprise at this point? Like we do an Avatar episode.
That's job
Cabbage
security, man.
has to
Yeah.
be.
I mean, but to find him in the Valley of Fog, I think was such a great, like, the perfect place to put him. Felt so natural. But yeah, like the fight was so cool, and I think that's why the episode was worth doing, because that fight was going to always be really epic and awesome.
Because I wonder, like, a lot of times Death Battle is about like solving like who would win, right? But then there are other times it's just like it'd be really cool to see him fight.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want fire to come out of Korra's elbows like a fucking jet, and then like she punches Storm, and Storm goes uh-oh and goes flying. I want to see that. Yeah.
And then we did it.
And then we did it.
Yeah.
That's
it was awesome.
on YouTube.
Sometimes it is okay to be a 10-year-old on the playground, it sounds like.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, speaking of the playground, completely meaningless transition. Let's talk about Death Battle over the years. So should have mentioned this earlier. We are actually pre-recording this episode. So if you were watching this live, unfortunately, we are not able to check on the chat, but that is because it is the holiday week here in the US for Thanksgiving, and we will be out of town, or at least some of us will be out of town and unable to record, spending time with our families and friends during our usual recording time for this show. We will be back, of course, to live shows afterwards, but for this week in particular, we figured we would jump into something a little bit different. Instead of doing Community Death Battle, let's talk about Death Battle as a whole, specifically some of our favorite and least favorite death battles throughout the years, and maybe some of the stuff that we've learned over time.
We sure have learned a lot.
Yeah, because we've been doing this for 10 years, right? Holy shit.
You know what? And before we jump into that, I want to say, speaking of the holidays, Ben, there is a bunch of great Rooster Teeth merch, including some Death Battle stuff at store.roosterteeth.com. And guess what? It's coming up on Black Friday. You can bet there's going to be some sales. There's some stuff coming. So
check it out. I'm wearing one of them right now. It's
Nice.
10 years of Death Battle shirt.
yeah,
Ta-da.
Ben showing it off.
Yeah.
There's also some great like holiday sweaters, man. All those came out so good. There's a lot of really awesome stuff and some new lines and things dropping. I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about yet. Just keep your eye on store.roosterteeth.com. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming.
Whatever's on the store right now, go check it out. Okay. Anyway, roosterteeth.store.com. So 10 years of Death Battle, we've learned a lot. Obviously, Death Battle has changed quite a bit over the years. It first started with basically just me and Chad. And I would basically
been doing the majority of the work.
do all the writing, research, and editing, and animation, which I wasn't familiar with at all at the time. I would do all of that within 2 weeks for every single episode.
I just got to argue with him and then be funny. That was
Well, yeah. So that's actually it's interesting how the evolution of multiple different aspects of Death Battle has changed over the years. But one of them that hasn't changed all that much is it's both changed a lot and also not as much. So the actual analysis of figuring out who wins. So the analysis process has changed quite a bit. Bringing on the research team, of course, was a major aspect of that. And if you go back to season 1 episodes, every so often I'll see people like talk about like the conclusion of a season 1 episode and be like, I think they got this right and I think they got this wrong. Just going to tell you right now, the first, what was it? Like 20 episodes or so, all the way up until Zelda versus Peach. All of that shit were jokes. It was just a big joke. It was just a big dumb joke. None of those like conclusions, like there was some logic to the conclusions, but none of them were meant to be taken seriously by any stretch of imagination. The joke was that we were figuring out who would win. Like that was the joke of the show. It's not a very good joke. It didn't. A lot of the jokes did not land in those first 20 or so episodes, but like. We calculated that Peach would win because she could kick somebody's head hard enough to duplicate it.
I remember that one.
That's not a real thing. That calc doesn't exist. But that's what we use because it's funny.
But that's what I do want to put out. I mean, we were like, it wasn't just like, we'll do whatever result. Like, I really want to stress that. Like, we really were trying to figure out who would win. It's just the process is a lot more refined now.
Yeah. It's basically what I'm saying is don't take any of those results too seriously as us like fighting for some sort of result, which frankly like we never do anyway. But
like every comic book page to like categorically say you were just like setting up like a logic thing, like like this character can do this thing, therefore this should happen.
Calcs did not exist back then, and when they did, they were like stupid jokes. Because I had essentially a week to research and write every episode, and then I would spend the next week animating and editing, and of course Chad would record. But the thing that hasn't changed all that much is the argument itself, the research meeting. So back in the day, even back then, I would take all of this information that I gathered across a week, mind you, and go to Chad. And Chad's job would basically be to shut me down. Say that I'm wrong. And that has essentially become my job now. Because nowadays we have this amazing research team who does so much more than I ever could back in the day. And they basically all come together and come to me and present a winner. And it's my job to be skeptical of them now, which is really interesting.
It's great. It's fun. But that was it. I mean, Ben would just be like, all right, I've done all this research and I think this character wins and here's why. And then I would just be like, you're wrong. And then he'd have to find whatever ways to explain. And then I would just try and poke holes in literally everything. And I'd be like, well, couldn't this character just do this? And, we would go until neither of us could bring up any more of an argument for where we were at. And we both like, okay, this is it.
So I want to talk about some episodes that maybe we love and hate to talk about. So let's go ahead and start with Chad. I think you wanted to talk a little bit about Power Rangers versus Vulture.
Oh man, I mean that's that. There's so much that goes to this episode because Ben, this was an episode since like season 1. I was like, I want to do this episode.
Oh yeah, this is one that we both were like, this has got to happen at some point. I don't know how it's going to happen. There was a time period when we were thinking about making it a Sprite episode.
Yeah, because we actually reached out and contracted somebody. To this day, they may still be working on these sprites. we never got them. And like we would like reach out for some updates, like, yep, still working, and we're like, okay. And like I think
we actually didn't reach out to them; they reached out to us.
That's right.
It was never like a sign. There was no paperwork sign or anything like that.
Right.
Like this was so early on, we had no idea what we were doing. Yeah, it was all off the books. But somebody reached out to us and was like, "Hey, I can build a Voltron sprite sheet for you," and I was like, "Oh, okay. Sure." I'm not gonna like. We don't have the money to pay you, unfortunately, but because it's so early. But if that's something you're working on anyway, we can use them. And then every so often I would hear back, and then it just kind of dropped off. I mean, naturally, because like we weren't able to pay them, so we're not expecting anything per se. But that was the earliest we considered possibly doing it.
Yeah, we talked about it for so long, and we always said we never put it on the schedule. We were just like, whenever those sprites come in, we'll do the fight. But so years later, now we have an amazing 3D animator with Torian. Reed was interning with us at the time, and we just were talking about it. We were like, should we do it? This is now the time. And then Reed was like, yeah, I can model. And so we're like, okay. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping a part.
It was actually before Reed came on.
Yeah, before Reed came on. I forgot. This is after we had pushed it. Okay, so the first time we were like, we want to do this. Torian's here. He's going to make a badass robot fight. It's going to be cool. And my ideal scenario, which was shut down because it would have been even more expensive. I wanted it to be like, I wanted the Paladins and the Rangers to fight on the ground. Then I wanted them to get into their Zords and Lions and fight that way. And then I wanted them to transform and have the giant robot fight, right? Because that would be like the full arc of an episode. But I'm like, all right, yeah, it's too expensive.
Chad wanted us to spend over $1 million on an episode.
Well, we pretty much did, dude. God, this episode, man. So Torian knew a person who could do some 3D modeling. So he reached out because we needed to get the Paladins made. And also the Zords.
Zords and the
Megazord. Oh, and the Lions.
The Lions, not the Thundercats is what I was about to call them. The Lions, yeah.
Yes. So we wait and we're like, okay, cool. We're going to see when these things come in. These we did contract and we did pay for, both financially and emotionally. So they come in and like, I just hear Ben and Torian laughing and they call me over and they're just like, these are the worst fucking models I think we've ever seen in our lives.
I was not laughing. Torian was laughing a lot. I looked at them and I was like, what the fuck are we supposed to do with these?
It was like, and I mean, all aspects. The T-Rex had like legs that were like this thin. It was like everything was out of proportion and looked terrible. And then we're
like someone went ham on the character creator. Like they were intentionally trying to make it bad. Yeah.
It was a rush job, basically, and they were all just like boxes reformed and whatnot.
Yeah. And so we were looking at these, we're like, oh my God, we can't use these. And so then we were like, well, let's take a look at the paladins. And it was like, I don't know what happened, but it was like the guy grabbed like a generic model and then tried to morph it to fit all the different paladins, but they looked so off, and we're like, damn it, not even the humans look good. And then Torian goes, watch this, and he pulls one of the helmets off the paladin, and there was a second face on top of the head looking up. I'll never forget that moment.
It's like Voldemort.
Yeah, exactly. It was exactly like Voldemort.
Oh my gosh.
And so, we're just like, fuck, like we paid for these, man. And like, but we had, I remember having a conversation with Ben and Craig, I think, and we were just like, we're not even going to go back to this guy. Like we looked at this and it was like, God, no. I have zero hope that if we go back and like, it'll just waste our time. Like we're never going to get what we want from this person. So we literally just chalked that up as like we just burned that money. And so then we're like, all right, push it. And then we'll see if we can do something later.
At that time, I think it was planned to be the season finale for season 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had to swap that with Deadpool versus Pinkie Pie.
Yeah, that was fun. You remember when I don't know, they got brought up in recent months, and I totally forgot that we did that whole thing where they crashed in on Death Battle Cast.
Yeah, I love that episode. It wasn't meant to be a season finale. It was something that we were working on for the next season that we could just push up. Or actually, no, I think I could be wrong, but it might have been planned as the penultimate episode, and we just essentially canceled the season finale that year. That might be what it was.
Entirely possible. But then
it's been a little while. I can't remember the specifics.
Yeah. So Reed Fagerquist, who works at RT Animation now, she was interning with us, and she is an incredibly talented artist, and she was interning because she was getting into 3D and modeling and stuff, and so she was like, I could model a Megazord. And I was like, oh yeah? And so then I was like, she's like, yeah, I need something for reference. And then I'm like, well, let me introduce you to my childhood Megazord.
That's amazing.
Because it literally transforms into all the individual Zords. And
I had that same thing at my house.
This is like legitimately one of the coolest Christmas presents I've ever gotten.
That's fantastic.
My brother was tasked with driving like 3 towns over to finally find one in time to get it for Christmas. But anyway, so I turned this over to Reed, and this is what she used. So the Megazord and the Zords you see in the fight, she modeled based on my toy.
That's so great.
Thanksgiving week, and DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, has your shot to gobble up some winnings. New customers can play free for millions with their first deposit. Nothing goes better with your turkey stuffing and pie than feasting on big cash prizes from DraftKings. So you don't want to sleep on this offer. Playing daily fantasy football is simple. Just pick your lineup of NFL stars while staying under the salary cap and score enough points to bring home cash. And with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, you'll have another reason to be thankful this year. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code BATTLECAST to play free for millions this Thanksgiving weekend. That's right, enter promo code BATTLECAST to get free shots at millions in total prizes with your first deposit only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Yeah, I did the fast legal ad read thing. That's fun. Okay, anyways, back to the show.
Yeah, and then it came out, and like it was just like it was so expensive, guys. I can't like just already with the models and the time that we had put in, and then we had Reed do this, and then I think we had to pay for something else. We found something that we could purchase that somebody had done. We did that too, and just like the timeline. What was that?
I think it was the set.
Location. I think it was. I just remember like by the end of this thing, we were just like, God, man, this one really better take off. Yeah, we were just like, ooh, like this one's really, really hurt us. So it's like, I really hope this one does well. And then we were like, yeah, I mean, it'll do well though. It's the Megazord versus Voltron, like the quintessential like robots fighting each other. Of course, it's gonna go great. We've wanted to do it forever. And then the episode was just like a meh. Like it turns out picked up
because Voltron wins.
Yeah.
Which, like, if there is any episode to denounce the rumor that we, make sure that whichever character wins is the one that's going to make the episode most popular, this is the fucking episode. Like, if we wanted Power Rangers versus Voltron to be this huge success, the Megazord would have won. I guarantee you it would have done like 3 times better. Like that episode would be shared around. It would be at like 20 million views by now. We would make our money back on YouTube alone.
Yep. But oh my God, I just remembered. We also, speaking of, since we're just like talking about mistakes, we fucked up the height for, was it the Megazord?
Well, there were multiple conflicting sources about the height. I remember
there
that.
were. But whatever we ended up going with, we realized too late that it was incorrect, and we intentionally had put in a shot to make it was to make the Megazord look bigger, right? Because and so there's this very, very clear shot in that episode where the Megazord looms over Voltron. I can't say it, but Ben, you know the reaction video I'm thinking of.
I actually don't remember this being a mistake. I don't know. Maybe it was. I think we might have adjusted this height later.
Yeah, we talked about it later, and we were like, it's okay. In all the things, we're like, except for one shot. That one shot that we really intentionally, like, I think the Megazord is still supposed to be bigger, but it was like, when we found out, it was like, they should have been a lot closer. And that shot made it look just monstrously towering over Voltron.
Are you sure it wasn't the other way around?
It might have been the other way around.
Actually figured out that the Megazord was supposed to be way bigger. I think that might be what it was.
It could have been.
I'm pretty sure part of the analysis is that it is super big in comparison.
Gotcha. It might have been flipped, but I just remember like us being like, we had a little weird thing with the height, and there was one shot. And there's a reaction.
There's
video
definitely one shot in the episode
I can't quote.
The height's different.
Yeah, I can't quote that reaction video, but it's one of the funniest. God, I laughed so hard. Do you remember that, Ben?
I don't actually.
It contains a word that cannot be said on the stream.
Well, then never mind. We can move on. One thing that Liam. One thing that did benefit from the delays was we were able to get like an amazing cast from a bunch of YouTubers and voice actors that I've been wanting to bring onto an episode for a long time.
That's true, but that was where some of the other costs came from. I forgot about that. We're like, let's get voice actors for everybody. This thing, we've already thrown enough money at it. Keep it going. Like,
but I mean, compared to everything else we do, voice acting,
for sure,
like it doesn't cost nearly as much as modeling a whole fucking Megazord.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they record for like an hour at most. So. Megazord or Power Rangers versus Voltron, I believe, is still the most expensive, or at least the most stressful production-wise episode we've ever worked on. Probably. There might be some recent ones that might be able to contend with it. I don't know, because it's been a little while since then. But it's definitely the one that sticks out.
For sure.
Another one that I know we want to talk about is Liam. You wanted to talk a little bit about Black Canary versus Sundell.
Oh yeah, that was just one that when we talked about like what the basis for this one is. I don't think that episode is bad. I think that if we're talking about like worst, I think it's the worst one that I've written. And specifically because of my writing, so I'm not passing the blame on to anybody else. And mostly in one very specific way. And I think that, and I learned a lesson from that, is that if two characters have relatively simple, straightforward movesets, like not a lot of powers, then the environment and like what they're doing with it needs to like match up with. Or it needs to compensate for that. And so I thought it made sense to put it in like a Mortal Kombat arena, because duh, right? But it ultimately was like a big flat arena. And it was mostly like, oh, let's have them kick and punch and shoot sound things. And I look back at it and I go, oh, okay, if I had like put it in a different kind of, or maybe used the arena in a more specific way, then I could have like given it a little more punch per se. So I don't think that episode is bad, and I've never really seen people say that they think the episode is bad, but I think it's probably my worst. I'll say that.
So that's so funny that you mentioned that, and I can tell you why, because it did it for me too. It's because there's fighting game characters. And
yes.
So a huge fighting game fan. I wrote Ryu versus Scorpion.
Oh yeah.
And when I did the fight script, I'm sure Ben will remember, I wrote it like it's a fucking fighting game, because I'm in my mind, I'm like, I had my backup was, oh my god, I just lost the ability to speak. Ryu was like a B tier character for me. I had a Ryu in my pocket, and then Scorpion was my main in Mortal Kombat. And so in my mind, I'm like, I know exactly how these characters fight and interact in a video game. And so I wrote it that way. And then I think Ben got a hold of it and helped me spruce it up, because I didn't think about what's around them and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, they are facing each other on a 2D plane.
Yeah.
And this is how this works. Scorpion's gonna jump in and kick and then cancel to teleport punch behind you.
Hey, holiday shopping is here, and you can get everyone something they'll use every day. A pair of Raycon wireless earbuds. Let me tell you about these bad boys. They're just wonderful. They sent me over. I've had a pair for a really, really long time, and they just now sent over these Raycon every day, even snazzier, even better. They're just awesome. I mean, who doesn't use headphones? Like, I can go on a personal speech here. Public audio shouldn't be allowed. We should ban public audio. Everyone should wear headphones when they're in public, because if you've ever been on a plane and somebody's just like watching a video, insane. It should be illegal, okay? So get some Raycon earbuds, because they are a great deal. Raycons have seamless Bluetooth pairing, a 32-hour battery life, which is insane, a comfortable fit, and their audio quality is so good. Okay, so now you can use their 3 sound profiles, including pure, balanced, and bass modes, to choose which sound best suits, whatever you might be listening to. So this holiday season, get something for everyone, and get something that everyone will want and use, whether it's for calls, music, or work from home, which, to be honest, I do a lot of, work from home. Because thanks to these bad boys, I can stay in the kitchen and make my coffee and stay in my morning meetings. It's great. So go to buyraycon.com/cast today to unlock exclusive deals up to 20% off your Raycon order. But hurry, this offer is available for a limited time only, and you don't want to miss it. That's buyraycon.com/cast to unlock up to 20% off your Raycons. buyraycon.com/cast. Go check it out. They are seriously good. And I do love me a Raycon. They're great. Go check it out. I said that 3 times. Whatever. Bye. It's ad time. Back to the show.
So I think what's great about that, and that's still one of my favorite episodes, actually, I think, is because you definitely have that kind of energy to it. Like, a lot of the fight is like on a pretty back and forth 2D plane, but you also get them fighting on the mountain, and then they fall off the mountain, and then they go into hell. And that's used in a lot of really interesting ways. I still love Ryu versus Scorpion. I'll say that.
We were very behind, and I was like, "All right, one."
Nice. Yeah, I like that one. Oh, look, Ben.
Did Ben freeze?
Ben ascended into a higher plane.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh,
He's
yeah, he sure is.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if he was just very not enthused about my story.
That's very funny.
Josh, do you have any favorite, least favorite episodes?
Well, I have. It's funny that we were talking about how production was so difficult for the
Megazord Voltron.
Megazord, yeah, because my personal production hell is a very different story. And I was looking. I wasn't sure if it was worth talking about, but I was looking at a long list of episodes yesterday, and I came across that one, and it made me shudder. So I was like, "Oh, that's still fresh."
Which episodes are still
It was
deep.
Danny Phantom versus Jake Long.
Okay.
And this is back when I was editing the show still. And I think this is actually my last episode that I edited. So it was a perfect send off. But so I think if I remember correctly, the first episode that I had to deliver as an editor while we were transitioning to work from home, because this is early 2020, was Machamp, or Goro versus Machamp. And that was fine. It went okay. Yeah. I did go from working at the office on an incredible, powerful machine to exporting that episode on a 2010 iMac. Oh no! It took forever. And I was on terrible community Wi-Fi. This was before
Your internet was so bad.
It was so bad. It was because the apartment complex didn't. They basically communicated to me that there is no way for me to dial in directly. I can only be on Wi-Fi, and it's Wi-Fi that's shared. So it's just there's nothing we could do. 6 months later, I find out that is not the case, and there is a place for me to plug in this apartment, and that's where I am now. It runs from this room to like my living room. It goes across the apartment, up through halls. It's ridiculous.
So you also have a cable that your wife hates with all of her heart. Is
Yes.
that? Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've got mine's. They didn't do the entire upstairs of my house with Ethernet, dude. And it's all coax, and the only company that was doing internet in this area at the time was AT&T, and they don't do coax, they do Ethernet. And I'm like, you built a fucking house with literally there's nothing upstairs. I'm in a media room, like, and it has no Ethernet. And so I have the closest one is our living room. So it is literally going up the wall of our living room, through a cutout, down, around, and under, and like up and over. April fucking hates it.
My
That's
bedroom
exactly
doesn't
what I've
have
got.
any electrical outlets.
What?
That's
There's
right.
no
You told me about
electricity
this.
in my bedroom.
That's ridiculous.
All power strip, baby.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Workhorse.
But so Danny, so that episode was the first one that I had to, from the ground up, work on that episode from home. And everything was going all right, even with all those ridiculous problems. And then up until the day of the release, we were struggling with, Chad, and you probably remember singing the Danny Phantom theme song in your run in Danny's rundown. And so there was this whole back and forth between like, this much of the theme song is going to get us flagged, this much isn't. And maybe if we add like Wiz interjecting in the middle of
I did too good of a job. I'm sorry.
You did because we had to go back and forth with that export, and every time we had to make a change, it was like 2 hours, like waiting that much time to get another export around, because I had to put it onto our server, and then someone else had to download it and then deliver it and then upload it to YouTube. It was a nightmare, and it was so frustrating. And when we finally got it out, it was such a relief. But like, oh my gosh, that was still making me shudder to this day. That was a nightmare.
Dude, man, another fun. Speaking of music and nightmares. Oh god, I still like so much money was lost. We did Hulk versus Doomsday, which was one of the most difficult episodes to decide. Like, oh my god, that argument got reopened so many times, and like that was one of those ones where multiple people in the office got involved in, and it started getting really heated. And so, but we finally figured it all out. We get it going, and we were realizing, like, guys, this is gonna be like a fucking awesome episode. Like, we're doing it in 3D, like, and it's like it's all come together, and we're like, this is gonna be a really big episode. And we drop it, and sure enough, like, it just takes off, like 1 million views within like the first day. And then the next day we get a copyright claim because a track from, I believe, the Hulk movie was accidentally used.
No.
And so then we were like, oh no. And I was like, we can't pull it because we don't want to re-upload it, because it's like already, it's like its trajectory is like skyrocketing. And I'm like, oh no. So I got a hold of our YouTube rep, and I was like, hey, I need to ask a big favor. I was like, we made a mistake, and we accidentally used a little clip from this movie track. I think it was like temp audio then we put it in, like, it got left over. It was an accident. Easy mistake. And so I was just like, please, like, I know you can do this, but you guys don't like to. I was like, can I give you the fixed file, and can you swap it for me, so that we can get rid of this copyright claim? And then they were like, okay. And I'm like, all right, great. So I sent them the file. They swap it, so the version that you can watch right now is the corrected file. But because the way the system is, I couldn't dispute the claim because it was weird. Like, it didn't like, the claim is still there, but I didn't have an option. There's no option to be like, I made YouTube fix it.
Schrodinger's copyright claim.
Oh
so
my
I was like,
gosh.
I was trying to get in touch with their team. I'm like, guys, what do we do? Like, and I was like trying, and like nobody could figure it out. And so I'm like, cool. So like, some company got like all the money for that episode.
No!
And it's fixed. We fixed it within like a day, so it's like it's not even there.
Oh my god.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating to me because like laws are laws, whatever. But like at this point,
Yeah.
it's semantics. Like we're allowed to show all this footage. We never claim to own any of this. We're clearly examining 2 existing characters,
Yeah.
and we can show all this stuff, but we can't play clips. They're
Copyright laws
on the thing.
in the US are so stupid.
It's so strange.
dumb.
Yeah, man. We've been pretty fortunate on that in that regard over the years, because like, you know, I mean, it's a crazy thing, you know, like, what we do is transformative, you know, it's educational, and we put so much into the damn show.
Fuck, this is like the definition of transformative. Jesus.
Right, exactly. Also I think, oh Jesus, sorry, Ben, I think just
Ben's
joined our
back.
Discord, and it's just high-pitched screeching. Ben, stop.
Oh, no.
Oh, whatever you're doing, stop, it hurts so bad.
His frozen face is
Oh,
back.
God, no, hold on. Oh Jesus, mute him. Guys, it's like that was like the sound of like a
Yeah.
smoke detector screaming
That's
at
what
you.
you hear when you're dying and you're going to hell. You're definitely
listeners.
going to. You're like, oh fuck, it was a coin flip, but it's happening.
So they won't get it unless it happened in VMix as well.
Oh, right,
Now,
sure.
That,
Yeah,
that might have
yeah.
just been us. I have been muted in Discord, so Brian, yell at me if he gets fixed.
It stopped for me.
Holy God, that just drilled into my brain.
That was really
What
funny.
was I talking about? Oh yeah, the whole copyright stuff. Man.
Good.
We do
Oh, man.
put a bunch of work into it. It is transformative, but also
Do.
like, I mean, like, it's still crazy that when you're doing a show that's based on, you know, other characters that you're bringing in that
Yeah.
you don't own, it makes like merchandising super fucking hard. And which is one of the reasons we wanted to like, one of the many reasons we want to bring Wiz and Boomstick into animation. But yeah, I think we were fortunate because we started the show in the wild west days of the internet. And then it became this crazy popular monster thanks to the community watching it. And now, like, I think nobody wants to fuck with it.
Yeah.
It's and that's really like my honest opinion. Because again, what we do is transformative, but like, there's some company somewhere has probably been like, should we go after them? Because all fair use and that stuff is decided on a case by case basis.
Yes.
And it's a nightmare to go through. And so like, I just think that like, luckily, thanks to our community and making the show so popular, that now people are like, no, we don't want that bad press. You know, like, and I'm like,
Nice.
but yeah, if we were to start Death Battle like today, it would have been really hard.
Oh,
For
I
sure.
don't even know if that'd be possible. That would be crazy. Can I say what my favorite episode of all time is?
Yeah.
And it's not one that I had anything to do with. This was before I went on. It's still, I think, Snake versus Sam. I just
fight.
love it. Like I think that like that fight is like the closest the show has ever gotten to like, though this is what a canon crossover that has to end in one of them dying. As the one caveat. I think that's the closest.
Well, we
what a
also
canon
killed the
crossover
person in the
would be.
blimp too. Did we kill Otacon? I can't remember. Who was the person in the blimp?
No, Grim.
Grim. Yeah.
Otacon lived to see
that's what it
another
was.
day, to
Yep.
piss another pants. Which was just like
dude.
one of his Japanese animes.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times working with Torian, we're always like, holy shit, this is
Yeah.
like his best animation ever. And then, you know, it's like, how's he even going to top this? And then he does consistently, and again and again and again and again. That one was definitely one of the early ones that we were just like, holy shit, this is cool as hell. Because like the stuff he'd done before was like more over the top characters, right? You know,
Yes.
like RoboCop, Terminator, Deadpool, Deathstroke. You know, like
This one ends in a knife fight, which sounds
Exactly.
like it shouldn't be cool, but it's actually like the sickest ending because it doesn't matter how big the power levels are. It's just all what matters is that like these two guys have been sneaking around each other and trying to outplay each other this whole time, and now there's nowhere left to hide. The lights in the room the windows have been shot open, so there's no darkness to hide in. They just have to like mono it out.
And I mean, any of those fights, that's when you really see like just how good of an animator Torian is. Like
Yes,
that and
100%.
TJ Balrog. Just
Oh,
oh
yeah.
my god,
yeah.
like just absolutely incredible. It's like it's one thing to make characters fly around and shoot lasers, and there's still a lot of skill involved in like, you know, making that look cool. But like those really close like hand-to-hand fights is when you really see like all the little finesse and things that goes into it. It's super awesome. Did I ever tell you about how I wanted that fight to go? I pushed for it pretty hard, but then I was like, we can't do it because people would be upset.
Which one?
Oh, the Solid Snake Sandfisher.
Oh, how? What? Oh, what? Them just.
I wanted it to be a static wide shot of a warehouse, and just like every now and then, like something would like wiggle or something, and then just like you just literally, and until eventually you just hear one gunshot, and then it says like Snake wins or whatever. You're like, because I was like, you wouldn't see him, like, and I was like, oh man, it was like it was so tempting. It was so tempting to do it because it would be so funny to me, but it was the audience would not have been about that. So,
no, I agree.
I love that. I mean, that leads into like some of my favorite episodes of the show are the ones that kind of break the form a little bit. And it's because the show is so consistent and we do keep the form. So every once in a while when we do it, it's like really meaningful. So you got like, you know, Kool-Aid Man, Macho Man, or like Deadpool Mask. My personal favorite is probably Goro Machamp, and it doesn't really even break too much. It's just like that Machamp rundown that's like a nature documentary was just so satisfying. So satisfying to write, to edit, and to have that. When y'all's VO came back and y'all were doing like those, like your versions of those voices in character, it was awesome. Like such a fun one to put together. I was so happy to see that.
You guys love making me do voices in the Boomstick voice.
Yes.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Sometimes
especially when I have to do
falsetto. Can I make this like a Cockney accent?
Yes, yeah, you did do that one to me. Yeah, it's that or singing.
What's it like for you, Chad, to like watch an old episode and hear the origins of the Boomstick voice?
that is oh god, cringe into my soul. I have become a dramatically better voice actor over the years.
It's just you, basically. Just
oh
like a
god,
huskier
it's
you.
so bad. To me, and I'm just like, like every time. I don't like
wizard.
Yeah, I don't like watching older episodes because I hear my boomstick then, and I was like, oh god.
Fed Samus.
When he wants some whole planets explode, boom!
Yeah,
like, and I'm just like, oh god.
Oh wow, that's exactly it.
Yeah, well, that's because
so badass.
With our first like test recordings and stuff that we did, both Ben and I were just doing like a hardcore voice, you know, because it's fighting to the death and death battle and it's cool. And then we listened to it and it was kind of hard to tell us apart. And we were just like, this isn't it. And then that's when, you know, Ben and I both kind of like leaned into the, oh, what if it's kind of like an odd couple situation and one's very prim and sciencey and then the other one's like a redneck weapons expert. And we're like, cool. But even then, like my early boomstick stuff, God, I still like
one of the directions I've started to try to go in with Wiz and Boomstick is to just give them like, it's not give them backstory, it's just lightly drop things about them that make them seem like completely insane supervillains. Like Wiz mentioned some invention that he's created, and it's like always in a preview or something, so it can easily be kind of dismissed. Just like the most insane shit. It's like, oh, these two people are they're villains. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but Death Battle edition. Man, I've started to like doing that.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I mean that's what's so cool. Like this show's unique in so many different ways, but honestly, like, when it comes to working on the show, no production is like the way we do Death Battle, man. Like, looking back and like almost all of the lore was just improvised in the booth.
And that's the best way to do it too.
And we still, there's less of that now, but we still do it. I mean, like, I get a script in and I'll change shit, which Liam knows. And that's a really unique.
That's not the pun I wrote.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's like, but that's like a really unique position to be in, like as a voice actor, because like normally, you know, you're just like you go and you read the lines, and then they'll do a few different takes on it. But just, you know, this started out as Ben and I's show, and then now there's so many more people involved. It's cool that we still have this involvement, and Ben and I voice together. That's the other thing. Like, there might be like maybe once or twice out of every episode of Death Battle that Ben and I had to voice separately, and I think it's because one of us was sick.
Let's see if I remember this. I remember one preview was done. Oh, it was the sole bad guy. No, it was Ragnar. It was the Ragnar.
Oh, was it?
Preview. Which was like, Wiz isn't here right now, so it's just me.
Oh, that's funny.
Or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's what's so cool is like I love that energy, and I think like we get a lot better reads, and we get and like I mean, Liam, now that you same with you, Josh, you guys have sat in on our sessions, and you know how much we like banter and fuck around and change shit because of us playing off of each other. You know, like sometimes I'll just hear Ben say a line in the Wiz, you know, I hear it from Wiz, and I'm in boomstick mode, and then it's just like, well, this is how boomstick would respond, and I just do it, you know, and it's like. It's so
acting.
cool.
That's what acting is, you know?
Yeah, but it's like, but you know, voice acting, it's like, in most roles, you're not allowed to do that unless the director's like super chill and just like, do one for you. But no, that's what's so cool, man. And like, I love voicing with Ben and having that dynamic. It just makes it so interactive and fun. And God, I miss doing bloopers. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, those were always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. So,
I will say this about Black Canary versus Sundell. It has my favorite bad pun, I think in that I've ever written, which was yell-o. I think that one, because it's so genuinely simple and awful that it's kind of like they added in the at there, because I didn't have that in there. It was just sort of that. It's kind of unavoidable because of how genuinely terrible it is. Maybe that or I almost me shit my pants. That one was pretty good.
Oh, that one got you. I remember you were very pleased with yourself about that one. Yeah, you were also on a kick for a while. I think it's because I changed a couple of your puns. Then I think you were just like, all right, motherfucker. And you would just like load as many puns into the end as you possibly could.
Yeah, I've started to pull back on that. I'm trying to do like just one simple, sweet, savory boom pun rather than the 15. Oh, it was The Boys. Yeah, it was The Boys Battle Royale where I did a pun based on every single one of their names. In one sentence. That was pretty good.
Yes. Yep. It's great. No, I love it, man. Yeah. You and Genevieve were like the most like, I will make the pun.
I will
don't change my pun. Oh,
Eating
man.
Maverick Hunter ass for breakfast. That was my first script.
What was that?
Eating Maverick Hunter ass for breakfast.
Oh,
yes.
that
was in my first script. It's a Malafor. It's a combination. Too. Kicking Maverick Hunter ass and eating Maverick Hunters for breakfast. It was very clever of me.
Man, yeah, it's such an interesting how far this show has come over 10 years. You know, like Ben was talking about the early days of just him and I, and him doing like the majority of the work with a way unreasonable deadline, to now just look at this. I mean, just like there's so many people that work on the show, and like it's become this crazy cool collaborative thing that's like, I'm just super proud of the show, and thanks everybody out there for watching it and allowing us to keep doing this. And now I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't know when it's gonna end. Like, I'm gonna be like 45 in like another 10 years and still voicing boomsticks. Cool.
I could sit down and write 100 episode ideas right now.
Oh, I know.
Do that.
I believe you.
It's that easy. I can't promise there wouldn't be any repeat characters, but actually, I could probably do no repeat characters. I could do that.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah, there are lots of characters.
Chad, what's your favorite episode?
Oof. That one's really hard.
Ever. Let's just talk about
of any show ever. Yeah, no. I will say that like, and I've said this like a million times. So sorry for the people this isn't new to, but like, honestly, the process of the way Ben and I wrote He-Man versus Lion-O was like my absolute favorite. That was the first episode I think I had a big hand in the writing and researching, because there was so much to both of those characters.
Yeah. And
I was a big fan of He-Man, and I was a big fan of Thundercats. And so when we were talking about it, I was like, I'll take He-Man, you take Lion-O. And so every day Ben and I would come into the office and we would have it was like we just got into this battle of like the most ridiculous shit that we found in episodes. Because I remember he was all proud. He's just like, hey, yeah, well, I just found a feat where Lion-O jumps in the fucking tank or whatever it's called and like drills down and they make it and it survives in the center of the earth. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that would be pretty cool,
dude.
If I didn't have a feat of He-Man ripping a stalactite off the wall, jumping upside down and twirling himself so fast that he drilled a hole to the center of the earth so that lava could come up and reignite this thing. And it's just, the whole process was just so much fun. And like that, like there's like a certain fan fiction element to our show, right? Of like characters coming together that shouldn't really ever be there. Mm-hmm. And that one just felt like it fit well. Like that episode really feels like we're watching a crossover episode. And it was just so much fun to work on.
I remember there's a moment where it just like basically the action stops and one of the characters just go, I must be this. He must be trying this. I'll give him some of this. And then it's like, that's like such a like in terms of like the progression of events, totally unnecessary. But in terms of the like accuracy to the source material, like 100% on point. I remember I saw that and I was like, oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun to work on. And also just like, like, the cool thing about Death Battle, it's the reason we originally created Desk of Death Battle, is you would find so much either just interesting or weird or funny shit. And we would always like try and find ways to highlight that if we can. But, we have a lot of information to get across. So like that real estate's very limited. But hands down, I seriously think my favorite random weird find out of any episode is that He-Man. Because I wrote it in the script, I couldn't stop laughing because we were like, he goes and helps that little boy at the very beginning, right? Little boy's like taking a cart up a hill. The chain snaps off of like the oxen or whatever, or the robot thing, and it starts cascading down the hill. And He-Man grabs it, picks it up, brings it back, and then he's like talking to the kid, and he's like, next time, be more careful or whatever. And as you're focusing on him talking, but you realize he picks up the broken chains, and there's half a link in each of them.
Yeah.
And he just touches them together and they glow and become whole again.
It would have been too difficult to just tie the chains together.
It's like, all you had to do is like put him in his hand and have him squeeze, right? And then you'd think, oh, well, it's He-Man. He bent the links, but they were like, well, how the fuck are we going to get this back together? Yeah, and someone was like, I don't know, just like have him touch it and just make it glow or some shit. It's magic.
Magic, right?
And I just remember being like, what the fuck was that? I was like, he just magicked them back together. And we laughed so hard. We were just like, we got to put that in the episode.
Could he like magic Lion-O's arms together? So he just creates one like unit arm and he just can't fucking hold the sword anymore?
Exactly. Man, it's crazy. This has been really fun sharing a bunch of stories, even if we did lose Ben.
He wanted to talk about I think.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, no, but he's not moving.
Hey, Ben.
Oh, that scared the shit
Ben,
out
how do
of
you
me.
feel about this episode?
I was like, oh yeah, Ben's on here. Oh my god.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, no, this was really cool. Maybe let me know in the comments and stuff if you guys want us to do another episode kind of like this, because we have a million behind the scenes stories, and could go on forever. But I think we're about at time. So I just want to say, man, thank you everybody for allowing us to do this show. It's been 10 years. We're almost at the end of our 10-year anniversary season, and we got some really cool stuff in store.
There's
some really
excited for that next episode.
Oh yes,
it's finally happening.
It's gonna be madness. But yeah, thank you guys so much for allowing us to do this and to take it to the next level consistently over and over and over again. And it's all because you guys watch the show and spread the word. And also, I do want to say a very, very special thank you to everybody who's watching or listening to Death Battle Cast, because we were in a meeting recently and we got some numbers of like fan satisfaction and engagement and whatever. And you guys made Death Battle Cast pop up on that list. We were in the like top 100, and only a couple of some RT shows made that list, and it was really cool that Death Battle Cast was a part of it. And that's like, I have a quote from AJ, and he's just like, it means your fans love this show and want to support it. And so I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. This is compared to like Death Battle, viewership is obviously a lot less on Death Battle Cast, but it's really cool to have this this dialogue where we get to chat with you guys. And usually we have the live chat open, which I wish I could do today. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for 10 years, and Here's to another 10 so I can be 45 and still voicing Doomsday. And Liam, Josh, thank you guys for all of your hard work and what you guys have done to take the show to the next level. Because that's the thing, is like we can literally point at any person that's worked on this show and be like, that person has made the show better in this way, or whatever. Like everyone's done it, and it's been super cool. So there's my big touchy-feely ending. I love you all. I hope you guys have a great holiday if you celebrate it. If not, just have a great weekend. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.
Bye.
Hasta la pasta.